Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today, Masechtas Chulin Vav. We're going to begin on Vav Amud Beis, the fourth line from the top, my Taimo. So this is going to be going back on Rabbi Gamliel and his Beis Din, that they decided that when it comes to a Shchitas Kusi, it is going to be Aser. And that basically means no matter what. They're very, very strict when it comes to the shechit of a kuti, even though we said maybe sometimes it is allowed, they could shecht, but according to them, they said no. So my time it goes Rubuhu Rabbanon. So why did this gezer come about? Ki had Rab Shimon Elazar. Shadu Rameir Lasui Chamr Bebe Kutoi. So Rameir, he went and he sent wine from the house of the Kutoyim. Ashkehu Saba, so he found a elder. Armalei said, the pasuk says, the Samta Sakin Bloy Secha. They should put a knife by your jaw. Im Bal Nefesh Ata, if you're a Bal Nefesh. So what is that referring to? So Rashi says, pasuk b'sefer Mishlei. Okay, we see that. But Im Adam Kosher Ata Bal Nefesh Lo Yiltois Adam Kosher. So a person shouldn't consume B'lois Rashi Bilachayecha within your jaw. Klomer Tetachsuk Al Yitztarich Lo Tasazois. You should basically don't do this. Don't partake of this wine of a kuti. In this case, the wine of a kuti. So Holochav Shimon Lezer Sippa Devarim Lefnei Rameir. So he said this story over to Rameir. But goes away, and that was when a gezer was made. So my time is Rav Nachman Yitzchak, because the Mus Yoina Matzu Lehen Boroish Har Grizim Shahaya Oivdan Isa. We found something which was quite alarming, in which there was a avodah zarah that they were worshiping. More specific, an image of a dove. And since that's what was found by Mount Gerizim, so therefore we realize this is a problem. And Rameir Tameh Dechayish Miyute. Rameir is always chayish for the minority. How do we see that? So Rashi says, based on the Gemara Yavamas, a katan v'katana lo choltzin lo miyab. So when it comes to the dinim of chalitza, and comes to the din of yibum, Rameir says we don't allow a katan or a katana. Why? So Rameir Yafa Marta lo choltzin. I understand why you don't want him to do chalitza, because ish ksib parsha. Because it says when in the parsha of chalitza, you have to be an ish, not a katan. However, why can't katan do yibum? It doesn't say anything about a katan. So hen katan shem yimsa sris. Because what happens if we do yibum? Now yibum is an interesting halacha, because you're actually marrying a karev. Typically, obviously, you can't marry a relative, but this is the exception, that in the event that a man dies childless, that his brother can marry his brother's wife. Now, this is an unbelievably unusual concept, but it's yibum. But it's only going to work if it's shaykh that this person can have kids, can reproduce. However, there's a chance that if this is a katan, we don't know, he may be a seris. A katana shem tim's islandness. So maybe they can't have kids. The names are pagan be'erva. V'loy oimer roiv katanim enum serisin. We of course know that the majority of katanim are not seris. The majority katanim of young women are not going to be an islandness. They are going to be able to give birth. Nonetheless, Rameir is chayish l'miyute. Says the Gemara, v'gazer ruba atu miyute, and therefore we're geyser. So even though it's true that maybe not everyone is over the avodah zarah, but nonetheless we see that this is a pattern among many people that are part of the kutim. So therefore, for that reason, they say it's aser, even though it's a miyut, but it's chayish l'miyute. Rabbi Gamliel based dinu nami krameir svir, he holds things. So pashte kra b'maiksiv. So what exactly is the pashtus of the pasuk? Obviously, it's not talking about that if you're a Baal Nefesh, you should basically distance yourself from these people. So what is it, or from their shchita? So, but Talmud HaYoshev Nei Rabbi. This pasuk is talking about a student who is in front of his teacher. The Tani Rab Chia ki teishev lilchaim es Moishel. When you return by the leader, bein tavin eis asher lefanecha, to understand that which is in front of you. V'samta sakin b'lo asecha. Then it says you should put this knife by your jaw. Im bal nefesh ata. So what does that mean? It means like this: Im yodei talmud b'rabbi shodei alachser loy tam bein. If it's known that the student to the teacher knows how to be able to go back and explain, right, and understand other things, then you can ask the Rabbi the questions. Tovin eis asher lofanecha. Then you can v'samta sakin b'osecha. However, if we don't see this, then you don't ask him. Im bal nefesh ata parish imenu. You should separate from this teacher. You can learn elsewhere by a different Rebbe to get answers. So in other words, it's possible that you're in a situation where your teacher is not giving you answers. Says Rashi, She'im yishalenu yoshev lotam. If you ask him a question, he gives you an answer, then you can continue asking him questions. But if he doesn't answer your questions, then you can go somewhere else. Says Rashi, Ma'atzmacha, lo tishal, v'tivishal v'samta sakim l'osecha basrei. The high crux of kolemer techzak atzmacha, strengthen yourself. The otzer picha milishoil. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yosef shadrei Rav Avoy le'esui chamer be'kutoi. So Rabbi Yosef, he sent Rabbi Avo to get some wine from the Kutim. Ashrei Yahu Saba encountered the Sabra Malay Leis Kan Shermi Taira. These are people who are not Shermi Taira, right? So maybe you shouldn't accept wine from them. So Hayach Rabbi Yitzchak v'sibur devarim lifnei Rabbi Avo. Hayach Rabbi Avo v'sibur devarim lifnei Rabbi Amr Rav Asi. V'zoz misham, and he didn't move Shiyisum Ovdei Chachamim Gemurim until the Kutim were on the same status as an Ovid Kachavim Gemurim, complete Akum. Lamai. So Ilu Shchit, with regard to what? Ilu Shchit v'yayin nesach. If we're talking about Shchit and yayin nesach, that it's considered like an Akum, you can't eat their Shchita, and it's yayin nesach. If a Kuti touches it, so Mahasim goes Rabbanon. So from there, the Rabbanon are Geyser. Minhu Gozer v'lo kiblu minayu. They were Geyser, but it was then accepted. Also, Rabbi Amir, Rav Asi goes v'kiblu minu. When they made the Gezerah, it was accepted. So what does that mean? So says Rashi, Im dar kuti b'mavoy. So let's say Hilchos Erevin. You have a kuti that's living in a mavoy with a lot of yidden in it. Sarach liskar es reshusa. So he has to rent out his space. He has to rent it out, and therefore he no longer has like a connection to that mavoi, so that the yidden can partake and carry. Let's say Yisrael forgot to participate in the Erev for Nasan be'erev im b'nei hamavoi v'hu dar imahem. He lives with them. They also lehem levatel lehem reshuso the omikachavim ad sheyiskar Yisrael himenu. Okay, so all he has to do is just be mevatel his reshus. However, when it comes to an akum, you mamish have to rent it out. So it's the same thing by this kuti. Levatel reshus, litin reshus. He must have his property rented out so that Yisrael could carry their own Shabbos. Besides Yisrael mumer mishamer shabbato b'shuk. He keeps Shabbos in the marketplace, but Vatu Rishus, B'nois Rishus, because he's like a Yid. The fact is, he's keeps Shabbos, at least before Hesya. V'she'enu Mishamer Shavusai Shabbatai B'shuk, Enu Vatu Rishus, and Nois Rishus, N'Shiyomer Yisrael, Nois Rishus, Vatu Rishus. However, Avik is Ashiyis to actually rent it out. And therefore, this person who's Machal Shabbos, it's the same din, he would actually have to rent it out. It wouldn't be enough just to be mevatel the rishos. Ketzad. Amrulo, if he said to him by the Israel, Rishusi Kanuyalach, my property I'm acquiring to you, Rishusi Mavatelos Lach Kana, in a circle Zachlis. Rav Zer Rav Asi Iko Lapundika Da'ai. So Rav Zer and Rav Asi, they went to this inn, says, which is Shem Ha'ir, name of the city. And Rashi says, well, Ami Ha'aretz Hayu, a bunch of Amaratzim there, V'chashudim al Hadamai. So Damai is something which means of what? You're unsure what the halachic status is if Trumas and Maisis have been separated. So Isaac Kamai, who Beitzim Hametsu Makais B'yayin, they brought him some well done eggs, which also had wine in it. So Rav Zerul Ochel, Rav Asi Ochel. So one ate and one didn't. So Rav Zerul Rav Asi V'loi Chai Shmar Teruvas Damai. So understand, you Rav Asi, how could you just automatically eat from these eggs? There's teruvas damai. There's a good chance that there was damai mixed in. So how could you? You shouldn't be able to eat this. So Amalei lava datoi. I didn't know about it. And that's a good point. Amar Rav Zer Efsher Gazral teruvas damai umisayate milsa to Rav Asi. So it's possible that there are geyser on teruvas damai, which supports Rav Asi. The Meichel Surah, it says that he ate an Isser, so that can't be. We already know that there's no way the person could have actually made a mistake, because Hashem wouldn't allow for that to take place. Even for the donkey of Pinchas ben Yoyer wouldn't eat something which was untithed. Certainly this person. So Navi Rav Zera Dak Vashkach. He went out and he found a halachic source. That none. Halkech yain l'teich lases l'teich hamarius l'teich luntis. Let's say you buy wine and you want to be able to put it into this brine. Says Rashi, the sofel ochlo l'yayin zal de teruvos. You're gonna like eat the wine, but it was mixed in there. Or for that matter, this other concoction, karshinin lasos mehem tchinin. Dashim lasos mehem resisin chayim mishum demai. In all these situations, you are chayav to separate demai. Vein sarach loimer mishum vadai. And certainly, if it was vadai, in other words, if you didn't tithe. Vein atzmon mutarin memnei shehin taruvos. However, the dishes of it are mutter because it's taruvos. Lo gazra al taruvos demai. And apparently we're not geyser on teruvas demai. Avasani hanaisin lishchanato isel afos. If you give to your neighbor breads to bake the kederu lavashel on a dish to cook, in the chayshish shar l'sor v'tavlin. We're not concerned about sourdough or the tavlin shaba. Lo mishum is it not mishum? Lo mishum mishiyas. Lo mishum meiser. We're not concerned of meiser either. V'im armela asuli mishalichi. If you said take from yours, chayshel serve v'tavlin shaba mishum shvius mishum meiser. So we answer shani chasam the command kermela asimil mishalachi do from my own. So it's command the or be a dime dami. So it's like he did it be a dime. So therefore it's more problematic over here because it's something that it seems like he actually took it himself. That's answer number one. Rafram Oimer Shani Sovatavlin the Ta'im Ovid. The problem is that these add flavor and they're not bottle. And we say command Oriv the time will bottle. So the time low bottle. Okay. Let's slow down just for a brief moment and let's see a couple questions. Question 2. Where do we find that? So first of all, regarding their wine, as well as on. So Rabbi Meir was geyser on the wine. Rabbi Gamliel was geyser on the shchita. Rabbi Lezer geyser in shesach liskar makoim. When it comes to a mavo, it's not enough to do with the vato or shus. So those are the answers: the yayin, the shchita, and also lagabi the dini of Arab. Okay. Question 3. Rav Zer Rav Asi Ikla Wapundika Iso Kamayu Beitzim B'yayin. Right, so there was this eggs with wine. One ate, one didn't eat. So adin hi mi umahatam. So what should, yes, no, whatever. So the answer is that you are allowed to eat it. Why mishum dul gozer al teruvas demai? Because this is only considered teruvas demai, and that far we don't go. Okay. Question 4. Hanaisin isaso, person who puts in dough, yafais eitzel amaretz, next to an amaretz, him nechshadu lahachlif. Are we afraid of exchange? So it doesn't really completely, we're going to see, typically, we're going to see it's not always the case. So let's keep on moving. We're going to now see this following. And you tell me we're not afraid of the exchange, but not. If you give to your mother-in-law maser as shehu nice-in-law, as shehu neitel mimin. You actually have to do meiser twice before you give it to her, and afterwards she gives it to you back. She may swap the bread that got ruined, and so therefore you need to tithe twice. So apparently we are chayish of exchanges. No hasam kedatanya time. Rabbi Yehuda ratzahim betakanas bita uboisha mechatana. So she wants to look what best in her son-in-law's eyes, and she also doesn't want. She wants to make sure everything is done properly. She wants best for her daughter and for her son-in-law. So therefore, in the event that maybe it would be spoiled, so therefore she will exchange. Therefore, normally we're not concerned that they're going to exchange, and therefore you'll be stuck with, again, tevel. No, but in this case, it's possible, because if even, let's say you tithed it, so if let's say something happened to that dough, so she may replace it with something else which was not tithed, because she cares about you. So ironically, because she cares about you, it could cause more problems. So if we're dealing with, again, the mother-in-law, the chamaisai, so we make that exception. Why? Because again, right sehi but takanas bita ubusha mechasna. As we continue to bubble my base. Or al moechashina. So you tell me normally we're not concerned that they're going to switch, but not hanaisen lepundikis shaloi. Let's say you go into an innkeeper and you have meiser as shehu nice-in-law, maser as shehu nice-in-law, as shehu neitel memnech shachashuda machlefes. So apparently we are always chayshish for her, not just by your relatives, but even by a neighbor, that she's going to exchange it. It says, no hasam nami marib amra bar beirav leichel chamim v'ana echel karira. So she wants to give the Talmud Chacham guest the better warm bread, so she may swap. So therefore you need to separate the meiser again. Okay, so that's what answer number 4 is, whether we're chayish lachalufe. So normally maybe we're not, right? We're not normal, that not assuming that he's going to be exchanged. However, by a chamaso, mother-in-law, and by the pundakis, it's possible they could be more heter and be machlef in those specific instances. Okay. TA 4. Matam shigoz Rav Meir al yenim shel kutim madu Rav Meir gozar. So that's it. Oh, that's it. Right. So good point. So we said that if, let's say, it's because they found the musyaina, they were worshiping this idol, and Rav Meir holds echai shel miyuta is gozer ruba ata miyuta. So that's the reason. That's TA 4. TB. Same question, 7. Let's mark this down. So, who rosh sheish avodah zara shel demos hayayin al har grizim from Meir Savar shu chayish l'miyuta, and I wrote Saris. Beautiful answer. Okay, let's keep on moving now. Okay. A lot of papers here. Okay, so we're on Vavumad base. So, Vachlufi Lui Chashinan. So you're telling me other than the mother-in-law and also by the innkeeper, other than that, we're not afraid they're going to exchange it? Vasanya Eishas Chaver, when you have a wife of a Talmud Chacham, Toichenes Im Eishas Amaretz, we allow her to grind together with them. Bisman Shehi Tameya, only if they're Tameh. Of a low Bisman Shehi Tar, now she's Tar. Shimon Ben Elazar Omer, Af Bisman Shehi Tameya Loy Tidchain. You shouldn't even grind when you are a state of Tuma with her. Because what will end up happening, she'll end up giving it to her and eating. So we see that they're going to exchange. So Hashda Migzol Gazla Chalufim Miboy. So here by the Eishas Amaretz, she's stealing. So certainly she's going to end up exchanging because she has no right to give this away. So Rabbi Yosef Hasim Nami Mori Ba'amra Torah Medisha Ka'achol. She'll rationalize that she isn't stealing, in fact, from her husband. That it's just the ox from the threshing floor will eat. Right? It says Lo Safsam Sherbedisha. So the ox is eating there, right? So big deal, right? So it's not a big deal. So she'll be more heter, and that's the problem. Hey Rabbi Yeshua ben Zoruz. Chamer shel Rameir lifnei Rabbi. Rameir she'achal shel yerek bebeishan. So Rameir ate vegetables in this location, which seems to be pretty harmless, but for some reason we have that as a huge red flag. It's Beishan Kula. Okay, so the hitir Rebbe is Beishan Kula al Yadai. He said it's fine. All the vegetables there, it's not a problem. You can eat there. And Rashi says the point is that Meiser wasn't taken. Chavrul of Achav, they gathered up his brethren. Ubeis Dinai Amalo Makom Shavosecha ViAvos Avosecha Nahagu Bo Iser, a place where they were very strict. Ta Tinhag Bo Heter. So we're going to be make a heter over there. So Darsha Mikruzeh, V'chitisa Nachash Anachayshas. So regarding the copper snake that healed people, Asher also Moshe made Kiyad Hayomim Hahima Haybin Israel Mekater Moy. They were bringing Avodah Zarah. V'yikula Nachshantan Efsheba Asa V'Biru. So Efsh. Ba'asa v'lo biru, says Rashi. V'chitis nachas nachayshas, v'chizkiel melech Yehud eksiv. Ba'yoshafad v'lo biru, v'aloi kol avodah zara sheba'olam asa v'yoshafad pi'irum. Ella makom hanichol avaisav, he left over a place for his forefathers with his gader boy. Mekan, from here we can see what Talmud Chacham Shiaymer Davar Halacha Shein Mazichin Oisai. Then we don't push them away. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's maybe see another question. Adkan.